Hey, Pastor Bill here with an ongoing look at eldership qualifications. Part of the reason that we're doing this series is to look at not only what is important for church leaders, but also really a look at how unspectacular the qualifications are, because they're a description of what it means to be a Christian pursuing Christ in community. So as we look at the qualifications, we've taken time to see that an elder should practice hospitality. Today we're going to focus in really on some grouping of some of these qualifications from 1 Timothy chapter 3, that on how elders should be, what their character should look like in relation to other people, beyond hospitality. And we saw that hospitality is welcoming strangers, especially non-Christians, into community, and it's a mode of evangelism. And so today, just generally more the character of the man than the activity of the man that's serving as an elder. And so in that, in relation to others, the kind of language that we see in 1 Timothy chapter 3 is that an elder should be respectable, that he should be not violent, that he should be gentle, that he should not be contentious, and that he should have a good reputation with outsiders. And all of these really describe how a guy is seen and how his character is shown as he approaches other people. And so in this, you have, they kind of get grouped together as well, that a guy should be respectable to be an elder. That means that he's somebody that's worth following and imitating. We use familial language as we talk about church leadership, and that the elders are the dads of the church. And as such, when we appoint a man and commission a man to be an elder, what we are saying is that this guy is someone who is worth following. And that's what it means that he's respectable. He is someone worth imitating, and we want others in the church, particularly the men of the church, to look to the examples of our elders and follow them and imitate them. That the elders should be able to say with the Apostle Paul, follow me or imitate me as I follow Christ. And with that, that also means that within the church, the guy has to be worth following and worth imitating. And outside of the church, he should have a good reputation with outsiders. This means he should be well respected by non-Christians, because an elder of the church is a representative of the church and of the gospel. So we want people that are well respected, that work hard and work well, that when we see the kind of standards that Paul calls the Thessalonian church to aspire to live quietly and work with your hands and be dependent on no one, so that you have a good reputation with outsiders. And so a man that's respectable and has a good reputation talks about inside and outside of the community. And then there's also, in relation to others, these character qualifications and character descriptions of the kind of a guy someone should be to be in pastoral eldership ministry. And that's a guy that is not violent, but is gentle. Somebody that's not contentious. And so what that means, we'll talk about each one of those words. To be not violent means that someone's even-tempered. You don't want to put somebody in a position to be caring for people and to be leading the church who's going to consistently fly off the handle and have emotional outbursts and be unstable emotionally, that comes at people violently and manipulates people. Those kinds of things are going to impact an entire church body, an entire church family, if the key leaders show those kinds of characteristics. You want somebody that's not contentious. And that means somebody that's not quarrelsome and divisive. And Paul warns Timothy, the young pastor, about divisive, quarrelsome people. He says, don't get involved in silly controversies of genealogies and words. Don't get caught up in that. And a soldier doesn't get involved in civilian affairs. And he also says about divisive people, he says, hey, warn a divisive man once and warn him twice, and then have nothing to do with him. Because divisive people will worm their way into churches and find ways to cause divisions and build walls and build barriers between people, and it's destructive to the community that ultimately then becomes destructive to the gospel witness and the gospel effectiveness of a body. And so for elders of the church, it's saying don't put men in this position if they're violent or contentious, but instead you want a man who shows gentleness. This means that an elder needs to be kind and gracious and loving, someone who reflects Jesus. And in that, someone who also is able to stand for biblical truth and come alongside people with a gentle hand but a guiding hand. So I think in this we can at times take gentleness and try to turn gentleness into a weak demeanor, somebody that isn't willing to make hard stands, or we're quick when somebody says something that we don't like to say, you're not being gentle enough with me. But think about it again as a family. There are times when parents need to correct their children. There are times when there's dangers that the children can't see. There's times when it's beliefs or practices and things in life that need to be directed. And it's not gentle and loving for someone to not bring direction, but to do so with gentleness and with a loving nature means that you are showing God's grace, that you are doing it with an embrace, that you are calling people and drawing people to something that is lovely and good, and that you're not being harsh and mean and putting people down along the way. So the opposite of gentleness is violence and contentiousness. And those are things that aren't respectable and won't gain a good reputation. And so all of these are tied together, that the kind of person that's we can see someone's character by the way that others think of them. Not that they've never offended anyone or that everyone around them is their biggest fan, but that they are respected, that they have good reputation, that they are someone that hasn't caused divisions and isn't someone that seems to find trouble and exacerbate it, but instead is a gentle, calm, even-tempered, loving presence that is respected and loved by others, and in that both reflects well the gospel that is proclaimed and the graciousness of God, and is an extension of God's goodness and grace to other people. This is what all Christians should aspire to, is to be a people that reflect the goodness and graciousness of God toward others.